What's up, guys? It's me Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Joe Smith Jr. versus Maxim Vlasov, which would be a 12-rounder for the vacant WBO Light Heavyweight World Championship. And this fight will be Saturday, February 13th from the MGM Grand Conference Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this fight is going to be broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or on the ESPN app. And again, both fighters, Joe Smith Jr. fighting out of Long Island. He has a record of 26 wins, 3 losses, with 21 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 4 by BoxRec and is amongst the top in the light heavyweight division. He has some very good wins, but his losses are to Eddie Caminero early on in his career by knockout, and that's his only knockout loss. But that was very early on in his career, and I believe it was like 7 or 8 years ago. So he's definitely recovered from that. But he also has a loss to Dimitri Bivol by unanimous decision for the WBA light heavyweight world title. And he also has a loss to Sullivan Barrera by unanimous decision. But Joe Smith Jr. does have some tremendous wins and had a great year in 2020. But some of his good wins early on were against Andrew Fonfara by first-round knockout, an eighth-round knockout win over Bernard Hopkins, where he did knock Bernard Hopkins out of the ring. He also has a split decision win over Jesse Hart, even though it should have been a unanimous decision in January of 2020. And I did a video on this fight. You guys should go check that out, when he knocked out Eleider Alvarez for the WBO light heavyweight world title eliminator, and he's the first man to ever knock out Eleider Alvarez. And many people, including myself, were predicting a dominant win for Eleider Alvarez, similar to how Sullivan Barrera beat Joe Smith. But obviously, a new Joe Smith tuned up, where he did beat and batter Eleider Alvarez to get a dominant knockout win. And he's definitely a new fighter. In my opinion, he's improved so much. His power, speed, even his chin from early on in his career, and he's just got a better ring IQ, I guess you could say. But getting into his opponent, the Russian Maxim Vlasov, he has a record of 45 wins with 3 losses, with 26 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 6 by BoxRec, so they're very close, and the rankings both are amongst the top 10 in the division. His losses are to Isaac Chilemba, where he did rematch Chilemba and win via KO. And then he also has a unanimous decision loss to the former champion Gilberto Ramirez, who is still unbeaten to this day. And he also has a loss to Krzysztof Glowatsky for the interim WBO Cruiserweight World title. And most of you guys don't know, but he did partake in the World Boxing Super Series tournament in the Cruiserweight division. So he's known for fighting some big cruiserweights. He has the gas tank, he has the build. And Vlasov definitely was a top contender in the Cruiserweight division, as he showed even against Krzysztof Glowatsky, who's amongst the top in the 200-pound division. But some of his best wins come against, as I said before, Isaac Chilemba in the rematch. He also has a win over Orlan Raju Dorodola, sorry if I'm saying his first name incorrectly. He also has a knockout win over Rakhim Chakiev, sorry if I'm saying his name incorrectly. And he also has a dominant knockout win over Ismail Sila. His resume, he's definitely got a very good one, as I was saying before. Most of his fights were in Russia. I believe this might be, besides the Glowacki fight, I believe the Glowacki fight was in Chicago. But this might be his second fight in the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But that Glowacki fight was high stakes. It was at 200 pounds. And in my opinion, I thought he was probably going to get stopped because he was a natural light heavyweight. But he did pull through, and on one of the judges' scorecards, it was kind of close. I believe he had it 7-5, but taking away some points. I mean, nonetheless, he was able to compete with a top cruiserweight. Maxim Vlasov has a good right hand, good jab. Although he doesn't have too much power with only 26 knockouts, he still has the ring IQ, speed, and skill, let alone his chin. He's been dropped a few times in his career, like against Ismail Sila. I believe he might have been dropped against Glowacki. Comment down below if that's true. And he's definitely been dropped in many of his fights, as I've seen when I was preparing to make a video for this fight. I believe he also was dropped against Rakhim Chakiev, and I believe he was dropped early in that fight. So usually Vlasov is dropped early in those fights, but he comes back strong. And Joe Smith Jr., from experience of just watching him, and as most of you guys know, he does not have a great gas tank. Like in the Dimitri Bivol fight, he started out pretty strong, even though he didn't really win any of those rounds. But later on, he was just getting battered, and they possibly could have stopped that fight. So what I think is that Maxim Vlasov might get dropped early on in the fight. I'm thinking the first 7 to 8 rounds will definitely be in favor of Joe Smith Jr. Maybe first 6, 7, or 8, as I was saying before. And I feel like Maxim Vlasov will get dropped or might get dropped early or definitely get hurt early on, because Joe Smith Jr. comes out swinging. He's got tremendous power, and he's just known for knocking guys out earlier in those first 8 rounds, like he did to Eleider Alvarez, Andrew Fonfara, Bernard Hopkins, and he was even able to drop Jesse Hart. So I think Joe Smith Jr. will take over the first half of the fight, definitely dropping Maxim Vlasov, but then Vlasov will come back later on, like let's say rounds 9 through 12, and he'll battle back and to win the last 5 to 4 rounds. If not 3 rounds, definitely Joe Smith Jr. could take over the first 9. I definitely think Joe Smith Jr., as I was saying before, is going to dominate the first half with his power, speed, and he has a good gas tank early on, I was saying before. So does every other fighter, but his gas tank at the end is just not there. But Maxim Vlasov, he's known for going the distance. As I was saying before, he's got good experience with top fighters, especially in divisions higher. He's got a build of a cruiserweight, and he's a tremendous fighter. And I'm actually very excited for this fight because it's 2 top light heavyweights going at it. Russia versus the United States, what a cliche, sort of like Rocky versus Drago. But I'm very excited for this fight. But my final prediction is likely Joe Smith Jr. to win by unanimous decision. I know most of my predictions recently have been dull, like a unanimous decision, majority decision, or split decision. All of them have been points, but that's really the realistic view on these fights. I don't think Joe Smith Jr. will stop Maxim Vlasov, as he's never been stopped in his career. And Joe Smith Jr. will probably drop him just based off of Maxim Vlasov's, I guess you could say, experience of getting dropped early on in fights. But Joe Smith Jr. is known to come on strong early on and definitely fade as the fight goes on. But my final prediction is that Joe Smith Jr., as I was saying before, is going to win via unanimous decision. The scorecards will likely be 116-111 because I do think Vlasov will get dropped. If not, 117-110. Possibly 115-112 if the fight's a 7-5 fight, or if not an 8-4, if not a 9-3. Definitely around those scorecards will definitely be the ones for Joe Smith to be the winner. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.